group of men and women, 7 black and 6 white, organized by CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, boarded 2 buses in Washington, D.C. They called themselves Freedom Riders. Bound for New Orleans, they intended to exercise their constitutional right of equal access to waiting rooms and lunch counters at bus depots throughout the South. Schooled in nonviolent tactics, they faced the uncertainties of their journey with optimism.
There is a possibility that we will not be served at some stops. There is a possibility that we might be arrested. This is the only trouble that I anticipate.
An incident at Rock Hill, South Carolina provided a frightening preview of what was to come. 3 of the riders were attacked and beaten as they tried to enter a whites-only waiting room. Sunday, Mother's Day, further violence exploded just outside of Anniston, Alabama.
At Anniston, we were surrounded by a mob who followed us out of Anniston for about 4 miles until one of our tires went flat. At that point, they started breaking into the windows of the bus with chains and pipes and one thing and another. They finally threw a bomb into the bus.
And there was immediate flash fire on the bus. And I tried to open the door. Only thing I could hear is, let's burn them niggas. Let's burn them niggas alive. At that moment, the fuel tank exploded and they ran, and that was the only way we could get that door open. A man came up to me and I'm coughing and strangling. He said, "Boy, you all right?" And I nodded my head, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. He had hit me with part of a baseball bat. And this is when I see the highway patrolman. He pulls his gun and he fired in the air. He says, "Okay, you've had your fun. Let's move back." And that's what stopped it.
Unaware of this attack, the second bus continued on to Birmingham.
Last night, a man phoned me, said he was close to the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. He said he wanted to give me a tip. Be sure and be at the bus terminal on Sunday, he said, because you're going to see action.
James Peck and I, we were scheduled to test the facilities. So he looked at me and I looked at him, and we proceeded to go into the terminal.
They took them in the corridors and alleys and began beating them, began hitting them with lead pipes and with key rings and with their fists. They knocked one man, a white man, down at my feet, and they beat him and kicked him until his face was a bloody red pulp. The police did not arrive at this scene until 10 minutes late, when these men had, as if on signal, dispersed and had gone further down the street, where I saw some of them discussing their achievement of the day right under the windows of the police commissioner's office.
Now, I hope that these agitators outside of this state who are seeking to come here will stay at home and mind their own business.
If men like Governor Patterson and Governor Barnett of Mississippi and also Governor Davis of Louisiana would carry out the good oath of their office, then citizens would be able to travel in this country, and then people in Tel Aviv and Moscow and London would not pick up their newspaper for breakfast and realize that America is not living up to the dream with liberty and justice for all.
The Freedom Riders were marooned in Birmingham after bus drivers refused to transport them any further.
I had very mixed feelings. I'd learned to be afraid overnight. I was no longer this fearless rider. I was no longer so interested in dying for the cause. I appreciated being alive.
Hurried negotiations between Birmingham officials, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and his on-the-scene representative John Siegenthaler arranged for the riders to continue to New Orleans by plane. But any thoughts by Kennedy or Birmingham that the Freedom Rides might end was short-lived. 3 days later, a new group of students from colleges in Nashville arrived at Birmingham. After failing to secure bus passage to Montgomery, they were arrested by Police Commissioner Bull Connor and driven back to the Tennessee border late Thursday night. They vowed they would return, and within a day they did. Governor Patterson assured John Siegenthaler that Alabama's Highway Patrol would protect the Freedom Riders, but Governor Patterson's promises soon proved illusory. When the buses arrived in Montgomery, they were met by a mob. Before police could break up the crowd, at least 20 people had been beaten and injured.
One of the riders, a white student, was banged up pretty badly. 2 other students were hurt. And in trying to rescue a white girl member of the group, an aide to Attorney General Robert Kennedy, John Siegenthaler, was knocked out.
The next day, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, and James Farmer, the National Director of CORE, arrived in Montgomery for an evening service honoring the Freedom Riders. Gathered in the First Baptist Church, over 1,500 supporters were soon surrounded by a mob of 3,000 who bombarded the building with rocks and bottles and burned cars. Reverend King was on the telephone with Robert Kennedy, entreating him to take action to protect those in the church. Kennedy was simultaneously urging Governor Patterson to disperse the mob.
In this situation, I want to make this announcement that the city is now under martial law and troops are on the way into Montgomery.
The violence was quelled, and under pressure from Washington, the governors of Alabama and Mississippi both agreed to have state police and the National Guard protect the Freedom Riders. On Wednesday morning, May 24th, state police and National Guardsmen escorted a dozen Freedom Riders from Montgomery to Jackson, Mississippi. Upon arriving in Jackson, the riders attempted to use the white-only facilities and were immediately arrested. Many were sent to Mississippi's infamous Parchman Penitentiary. Refusing bail, the movement called for more volunteers to come to Jackson to be arrested. Over the next 4 months, Freedom Riders came to Jackson by bus, plane, and train. By the end of the summer of 1961, over 430 Freedom Riders from all over the United States had been arrested.
No matter what happens, we're dedicated to this. We'll take hitting, we'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride from anywhere in the South, anyplace else in the South.